Hi all, welcome to Tech Forum. In this video, let us see the details on context-aware configurations in AEM and how to use it. I am using AEM 6.5 for the demo. Other versions require some additional steps. AEM provides multiple options to enable the configurations. Example, OSJ config. Through OSJ config, you can enable environment-specific system-level configurations. Example, some third-party URLs configurations. Cloud service configurations. Enable configurations via AEM templates. Example, search and promote configurations and GTM and those configurations. These configurations are stored under etc cloud services folder. Cloud service configurations are mainly used for integration use cases. So other one is now the context aware configurations in AEM. Let us see what is context aware configurations. Context aware configurations are configurations that are related to a content resource or a resource tree. Example, a website or a tenant site. The application needs different configurations for different sites, regions and tenants, means different context. Some parameters may be shared also. So the inheritance for nested context and the global fallback values are supported. Using this context aware configurations API, you can get the matching configurations for each content resource. So without caring where it is stored or how the inheritance works. So you can, if you want to get a configurations related to a specific content path, you can easily get through this API. Now if you see this diagram, so here we are talking about different level of configurations in the content hierarchy. So first one is the tenant specific configurations. You can enable like tenant specific configuration through these context aware configurations. Then second one is some cases maybe region specific configurations. Third one is the site specific configurations. Any level you can enable this. So means now here context aware means different configuration for different subtrees in resource hierarchy. Now context aware configurations by default all these values or all these configurations are stored under /conf folder, but this behavior can be changed if required. So some of the core features of context aware configurations is singleton configurations. It supports collections. You can define or manage the configuration through Java class. Also there is a support for collection and property inheritance. We can see more in more detail. Then other one is service provider interface. So this allows you to overlay, enhance or replace the default implementation and adapt to your needs. Means you can override the implementation itself through this service provider interfaces. Yeah, if you see this diagram here, so it will explain you how this lookup for this context aware configuration is happening. So if you see content, then tenant 1. In the tenant 1 level, you have a property called sling conf ref. So it pointing to the brand 1 tenant 1 property. So then the region 1 level is pointing to a different property. Configuration property, same way site 1. So now this sling config reference will map the content hierarchy to the corresponding context aware configurations. So as I said earlier, by default this configuration is stored under /conf folder. So what does that mean is tenant 1 will have different set of configuration, region 1 will have different set, then site 1 will have different set. Now the lookup perspective, whenever somebody is looking up for a configuration from the site 1 level, it will start with the site 1, then it will again, if the configuration is not there, it will go to 2 region, then tenant, then brand level. So also it will fall back to, if those configuration is not available, it will fall back to conf global, then apps conf, then libs conf. So this is the order of configuration lookup. Now there is one feature is resource inheritance. Singleton here we talked about two types of resources. One is singleton resources and the collection resources. Then singleton resources, configuration resources looked up by the get or ask method variants. We can see that when we talk about the API. So those are called singleton resources. Collection resources, configuration resources list looked up by the get collection or ask collection method variants. For singleton resource, there is not resource inheritance. So there is no resource inheritance. The first resource that is found in the configuration resource resolving lookup order is returned. So whenever there is a configuration match found in a resource hierarchy, it will be returned. For collection resource, there is no resource inheritance enabled by default. The children of the first resource that is found in the configuration resource resolving lookup order is returned. So means first one again matching, because by default there is no inheritance enabled. We can change the behavior by defining a property called sling config collection inherit on the configuration resource. So I will show you even how to do that. Through the editor also you can manage it. What will happen is the behavior will be changed. The children of the next resource that is found in the configuration resource resolving lookup order are combined with the children of the current configuration resource, returned a merged list. So it will try to fetch the details from the next resource for the same configuration and merge the list and send it to you. So if you see in this diagram, there is a sling config collection inherit true is enabled. So if you see the result, what result you will be getting with this API is CAB. It will return all this configuration CAB. So but if this, what is that happening is it's trying to match with the next resource also. So conf site1 sling configs, it try to match, then again it will go to the next resource conf global sling configs in the order lookup order and it will match it. So it will return CAB, all the configurations. But let's say like if you take out that configuration config collection inherit, so it will only return the resource C. So it will only match the exact resource. Now same thing like property inheritance. By default no property inheritance takes place. So that means only properties that are stored in the configuration resource are mapped to the annotation class are returned as a value map. So it regardless of the singleton or collection resources. So also like whether the resource collection inheritance is enabled or not. No, now this behavior can be changed again by defining a property sling config property inherit on the configuration resource. Property merging is enabled between the current configuration resource and the next resource with the same name. It applicable for both a case, singleton or resource collection item. This means that all the properties that are not defined on the current configuration resource are inherited from the next resource, and a merged value map is used for the configuration mapping. So let's say like in a current resource you have two values defined, but there is no value for other two properties. So what will happen is if this property is enabled, it will try to get it from the other resources with the same name and merge the result and send. Now API, let's talk about API. Here you can use as a first option, you can use configuration resolver. You can get the reference of this configuration resolver. Then configuration resolver is having a single method to get the configuration builder. So if you see here, I am doing like a configuration resolver, then configuration resolver, getting that reference. Then through that I can get the configuration builder. So once you have the configuration builder, then you can get the configuration from that. So other option is you can directly adopt content resource to the configuration builder interface and get the configuration. So resource resolver, I am getting the resource, then adapting to the configuration builder, then I can get the configurations. So if you want to get a list of configuration, same thing, you need to use as collection method with that configuration class. The configuration builder also supports getting the configuration as value map or by adapting the configuration resource to a sling model. Now let's say configuration through annotation class. The configuration is managed through annotation class. You should be defining a annotation class for each configurations. So this is the sample annotation class. You should be using at configuration, label and description, then interface, my config, your configuration name, then what properties you are going to have it. So I have 3 properties here. You need to define this in your bundle. So how you will export this into your bundle? So first option is you can use sling context aware configuration classes. This is like a model, sling model. You can use this header and you can define all your configuration classes, my config 2 or whatever. So but this is again, you need a manual effort to do that. So other option is you can automate using the context aware configuration BND plugin. So I am only showing the BND plugin, but even Maven plugin also available. So in the latest project use this plugin, so that's I restricted to that. Now yeah, context aware configuration BND plugin, how to do that? So you need to add this plugin. Like if you see here plugin, then you are using configuration class scanner plugin. What it will do is it will scan through the bundle and find out all the classes annotated with that configuration, and it generate a Sling context aware configuration class bundle header with those all class names. So you don't want to do anything manually. Now yeah, so even you can access the configuration from HTL or Sitely templates. So context aware configuration contains a script binding values provider with automatically registering a CA config variable in your HTL or Sitely script, so that you can directly access context aware configurations. So it supports both the singleton configuration and configuration list. So if you see here, yeah, I am using this variable CA config, then my configuration class name, then the parameter name. Same thing even for the list, you can do like this, CA config, then list, then you can get the individual items. Even you can get, if you want to get the nested configuration, you can get like this, nested config slash the parameter name. Okay, let us now see a quick demo. So let me go to the Eclipse. So if you see here, like I created a sample project. So I created some configuration classes. So let me go with this sample config. So this is a simple configuration sample configuration. Then I am using the some description, then property I have a param1, then parameter with the default, then int parameter. So this is of int type. Now yeah, then I defined another parameter sample collection. So same thing, now only thing I am enabling this as a collection. So you will see, like when we are using the editor, you will see the difference, like what is the difference. Yeah, so now nested configuration, we were talking about that. So here if you see, I am having a nested configuration. Like first one is the string nested one, that is a parameter. Then I am having the sample config as nested one for this one. As I said earlier, like we need to enable the BND plugin to scan through these classes. So for that, if I go to pom.xml, if you see here, I just enable this plugin. Yeah, this value, this plugin you should be enabling it. So that if that is the case, you don't want to do any manual configurations. Okay, now the next step is like, let us now enable the CA config editors. So for that, we need to follow some steps that those editor is not enabled by default in AEM. For that, some of the configuration I will show you. You need to go to apps, pom.xml. Yeah, the apps. If I go to the pom.xml, yeah, if you go here, you can see some embedded package. So this is one of the embedded package. io.wcm group ID, then artifact ID, WCM, CA config extension. Then target your package, where the package would be installed. Like mine is, this is my project name. Apps context aware conf, then install. Then another one is, there is a sub package you need to enable. This is io.wcm artifact id editor.package, then filter equal to true. So these two you should be configuring. Also you should be enabling those dependencies also. If I come here, like dependency editor.package 174 gif, then like io.wcm.ca config extension 170 jar. So this versions is the latest one. So I got it from the Maven repository. So you can change your change the version based on your requirement. Now yeah, the editor is enabled for the project. Now another one is like we need to enable a static template. So the static template will be used to define the configuration pages. So we will be seeing that how to do that, but for that we should be defining a static template. So the static template is going to use the WCM IO page editor page component. I will show you that. So for now, what I am going to do is I will enable that. If I go here, is a template. So I created a template configuration page. So under this apps folder, if I I go to that, sorry, yeah. So if I go here, yeah, this is the template definition. If you see a CQ template, that's fine. Allowed path, I am telling content context aware conf is my project name. So this is the resource type, WCM IO CA config editor components page editor. So this is the resource type. You don't want to create any page component and all, so that will be coming through that editor packages. So only you need to create a static template. Now, yeah, so this is fine. Now one more change you need to do. So while deploying with this change, if you are deploying, you will be receiving this error saying filter roots ancestor etc packages WCM IO is not covered by any of the specified dependencies. To avoid this, what you need to do is, there is a project because I use the archetype 23 latest one. So there is a project app structure. If you go to the pom.xml of that, there is a filter root defined. So here you need to add this filter root also, etc packages WCM IO. Yeah, now the code is ready. So let's yeah, you can deploy that. I already deployed the code. Yeah, so now the code is deployed. Once the code is deployed, you need to enable this template. First up, you need to enable this template for the content hierarchy. So for that, what I will do is, this is my content hierarchy. So if I go to this JCR content, there is allowed templates. So initially only this value was there. I added this also now, apps otherwise you will not see that template while creating the page. Yeah, apps context aware conf templates configuration page. So yeah, this is done. And now one more thing, like you need to enable a property called sling config ref for the content hierarchy. If you see, my content hierarchy is US, EN, ES. I have two languages. So both are going to what I am going to do is, like, EN is going to refer to a separate or a different configuration. ES is going to be referring the different one. So for that, what I did is, like, go to this JSR content. So there is a property called sling config ref. So I am pointing to conf context aware conf configs then EN. So you can under conf context aware conf, whatever the path you want, you can use it. Now same way, if I go to ES, so I am using ES specific configuration. See here, like config ES. So what does that mean is, same set of configuration. So when the configuration is requested from this EN context, EN specific configuration will be returned. So if it is a ES context, ES specific values will be returned. So same way, you can define whatever the level of configuration you want to have it in your project. Yeah. So again, this time I enable through CRXT, but what you can do is, you can enable a page property to add this specific property. Yeah, now this is ready. Now what you need to do is, you need to go to you need to create a configuration page. If you see here, I already have a configuration page under this EN, also under this ES. So this is created with that particular template configuration page. So maybe I will, let me show you. If I go to localhost, yeah, whatever the level you want to manage the configuration, you can create this configuration page. For me, I am going with the 2 level. So that's what I created in. Okay. If I go here, US, yeah, EN, I already have a configuration page. ES also I have a configuration page. So if I want to create it new one, you can go here. Yeah, see here, WCM IO based configuration page. Use this template and create the page. Yeah, so now the pages are ready. Okay, let us now see how to manage the configurations. For that, you need to yeah, see here, like this is the configuration page. Now if see, there is no configuration saying that what is the context path, it is USEN. Even here, you can, after changes are enabled, you can publish this page. So now if you click on add, it will list out all the configuration. We enable 3 configuration in this project. One is sample configuration, sample collection, nested configuration. So it will list out all. Once you enabled all these 3 configurations to this context path, then this add button will be disabled. Now let me say, like, I will go with the sample configuration. I will click OK. Now you can set the values, like integer, like I will set 20. Now I will say test. This is coming from EN. So then I will say default value, that's fine. So here earlier we were talking, if you want you can enable this, enable property inheritance also. Now I will save this. Now again I will add the sample collection, click OK. Yeah, I'm removing this. We talked about this also, enable collection inheritance. I'm adding an item, so I will give a test. This is the collection, so I can add multiple value. Test 1, test 3, then again one more item. Test 2, I will add some random value, test 4, test 5. Yeah, that's fine. Now I will go and save it. Now one more nested configuration. Yeah, if I go here, I can say test 2 nested, yeah, something. Now you can edit this configuration, parameter with default value. This is the nested configuration. This is another simple configuration. So if I edit it, yeah, I can save this and edit it. I will say here maybe 40 nested. Okay, I will say default value, I will leave it. If I save this, yeah, one issue I have seen is somehow like this value is not displayed. But if I go to CRXT, all these configurations are stored under this folder, conf folder. I already told you. If I go to configs, so en, yeah, if you see sling configs, it's all these configurations. But if I go to ES, there is no configs enabled right now. Now if I go to nested config, yeah, the value is there, test2 nested and test2 nested 2, and also it is having another sample config here. So but somehow through in UI somehow it's not displaying. Okay, now this is fine. I will go. So now the add button is disabled because there is no more context aware configuration to associate. Now what I will do is I will do the same thing for ES. So maybe ES I will only add the simple configuration. Yeah, now see the context root is different. Now if I go and add here, I will say sample configuration, click OK. I will say this is like a 30, then I will say parameter, yeah, maybe test ES. Now default value I will say updated. Okay, now save this. Okay, now the configurations are enabled. Okay, let us now see how to fetch the configuration data through Java. So for that, what I did is I created a servlet. I was already deployed. So let me show you that servlet. This is the servlet configuration data. It's a simple servlet. So here what I am doing is, as a first step, I am trying to get this value for context aware conf USEN. Now adapting to configuration builder, we already talked about. Then I am trying to get those all values here. Config en, param1, int param, and parameter with default. So same thing I am trying to get it for US. So this will return the US. But if you see here that parameters are same, but based on the content path is going to give me the different configuration based on the context. The configuration is based on the context. Then another one is as what I am doing is I am trying to get this through this configuration resolver. So as I told already, I can get through this configuration resolver also. So the same thing. Then another one is I am trying to get a collection configuration. So sample collection, and I am displaying those details. So another one we talked about nested. Nested there is no different. You can get that object and you can get the nested value also. Okay, let's now go and access the servlet. Yeah, if I go here and access this, yeah, if you see here the configuration from USEN, it's a test en 20 then default value. If you see the value from USES is test ES, then 30, then default value updated. So means based on the context the values are different, but same configurations, based on the context the values are changed. Then config resolver is going to give the same value, there is no different. Then config collection, we define two set of data, so that's why it's giving two, test 4, test 5, and test 1, test 3. So this is the collection data. Okay, so yeah, so you can based on your use cases you can configure the configurations. Okay, let us now see how to fetch the values through the configuration values through HTL. So further what I did is like I just overlaid the title component just for a demo, because en and es both are using the title component, so that I can easily show the demo. So if you see here, like if I go to my project context aware components title, I overlaid and added this. If you see param1, then ca config, this is the variable script variable added by this context aware configurations. Then this is my configuration path, configs.sample config. So if you see here, configs the package name, then this is the class name, then this is the parameter name. Now if I go and access this, if I go to so let me go and access those pages. If I go and access this, if I go to, let me go, if you see the value, the parameter one value is test en. So because this is the en content path, so that's why it's displaying en. Now if I go with es, so that will display the es specific value. So if I go with the es, if you see here, es specific value. So based on the content path, the value is changing. Another one is like you can resolve the configurations. So I will show you how to do that. For that, go to system console. If you go to Sling, there is something called context aware configuration. Just click on that. Now you can give the content path here. So I will go with maybe en. So let me copy this us en. Now now you can select the configuration. So I am going to resolve sample config, then click resolve. It will display all the details here. So config reference, where it is referred, then effective value, what is the effective value, so then what is the value, means effective value means, let's say like somewhere it could have been inherited or overridden, so that's why this is the effective value. So our case, effective value and value is same. So because this is not inherited, is not overwritten also. But let's say like you have multiple configurations, you are inheriting, you are overwriting, so then this tool will help you to identify what is the actual value, like from where it is inherited, how it is overwritten. Let us see now how to resolve the collection. So let me go and select the collection, sample collection, select this resource collection, so click on resolve. If you see here, like it's show the all the collection values here. Now if you see like let's say like if I select a simple collection and select this resource collection option, so it will say there is no matching item found. So now one more thing what we can do is how we can see how this inheritance work. So for that, what I did is like I created a configuration page in under us configuration. Now if I go to that particular configuration, so this is the us level configuration. The context root is context aware conf. So what I am doing is I am adding a sample configuration. I am adding something called 40 here. Now I say something test base. Now default value, this is fine. Now let me go to the en configuration here. So en configuration, I will click this. So I will say enable property inheritance. I am saying this is a inherited value. So I will say just inherited. Now click on save. Now if I go to here and I will try to resolve this, I unselect this, I will select resolve. Now if you see here, the param1 value is test base, so not the test en. Now it's saying the inherited is equal to true. So it means the value came from the inheritance, from the base configurations. Now if you go to the crxte, if I go here and context aware conf. Now let me go to this en sling configs, then config sample config. Just to refresh it. If you see here, there is a property sling config property inherit, that value is true. So also one more difference you can see, the second property value, the inherited value, the property is not enabled here. So but if you go to the base configuration now, one more configuration that is under the context aware conf directly sling configs. If I go there, so and click on the sample config, you can see param with the this is a param1, the text base. This is the base, the inherited value or the base value. So the inheritance will be in a multi level, like based on where the value is available. So it will fetch the inherited value property. So but yeah, so if you go back here, if you see here, that particular property is not available. Okay, this concludes the video. We have seen the details on context aware configurations in AEM and a quick demo for different scenarios. Context aware configurations are useful feature to manage the configuration specific to content hierarchy. I will be sharing the sample project in the video description. Thanks all for watching the video. See you in the next video.